For Clara, living alone in the city meant cherishing the quiet moments. Her apartment on the third floor was her sanctuary, and her morning routine was sacred. 7 a.m. sharp. Every day started the same way. Messy auburn hair tied up in a loose bun. An oversized gray knitted sweater pulled over black leggings against the morning chill, and a steaming mug of black coffee. She would stand at her large kitchen window, watching the rain streak against the glass in the city below waking up. It took about a week of this routine before she noticed she wasn't just watching, she was being watched back. Across the narrow, trash-strewn alley, in the dimly lit window of the opposing brick building, a man was there. Every single morning. He was bald, gaunt, almost skeletal in the weak morning light, always wearing a plain white t-shirt. At first, Clara thought he was just another lonely soul nursing a morning coffee. But then she noticed the timing. On a Tuesday, she raised her mug to her lips, taking a slow sip. Across the alley, the man raised an identical white mug to his lips in perfect synchronization. Clara paused, lowering her mug slowly. He lowered his at the exact same speed. A cold spike of adrenaline hit her stomach. Over the next few days, it became undeniably clear. He wasn't just looking at her. He was rehearsing her. If she yawned and covered her mouth, his hand flew to his face instantly. If she scratched an itch on her collarbone beneath her gray sweater, his fingers scratched the same spot on his white t-shirt. It was split-second perfection, a silent, terrifying duet performed across a 20-foot chasm of air and brick. It felt less like flattery and more like theft. He was stealing her movements before she'd even fully committed to them. Clara stopped sleeping. Her apartment, once her safe haven, began to feel like a stage where she didn't know the lines. She started closing the blinds, but the feeling of being observed didn't go away. It intensified. She felt exposed even in the bathroom, even tucked into her own bed. The silence of her apartment began to feel heavy, expectant. By Friday, the paranoia was unbearable. She had to know if he was just a deranged voyeur reacting to her, or something worse. She needed to break the pattern. She needed to do something so abrupt, so out of character, that he couldn't possibly anticipate it. Saturday morning, the rain was heavier, drumming against the glass. Clara stood at the window, her heart hammering against her ribs beneath the heavy wool of her sweater. She could see him there, waiting, his pale arms hanging by his sides, ready to mirror whatever she did next. She took a deep breath, gripped her coffee mug tight, and then she dropped it. Ceramic shattered on the linoleum floor, coffee splashing everywhere. In the same motion, Clara threw herself to the ground. Sprawling out flat on her stomach like a corpse, her face pressed against the cold kitchen floor. She lay there, paralyzed, peering out from under her arm through the bottom corner of the window. She waited for the sound of something breaking across the alley. She waited for him to drop to the floor. But the man didn't move. He just stood there in his window, a frozen statue in a white t-shirt, staring blankly at the empty space where Clara had been standing seconds ago. He looked confused, lost. A wave of sickening relief washed over her. He was just reacting. He didn't know what she was going to do. She had tricked him. And then, slowly, the man across the street lifted a hand. He wasn't mimicking her anymore. He was reaching for something on his own wall. He picked up a telephone and held it to his ear. A second later, the silence in Clara's kitchen was shattered by the shrill ring of her own landline phone hanging on the wall above her. Clara froze. She hadn't given that number to anyone in years. She stared at the phone as it rang again and again. Trembling, her breath catching in her throat, she crawled across the wet, coffee-stained floor. She reached up a shaking hand and pulled the receiver off the hook, pressing it to her ear. She didn't say anything. She just listened to the breathing on the other end. Then, a voice spoke. It wasn't distant, like a call coming from across the street. It was dry, raspy, and terrifyingly clear. It sounded like it was coming from inside the very room she was lying in. The voice whispered, "Get back up, Clara. You dropped out of frame. My partner across the street can't see you anymore." Clara's eyes widened in horror as she realized the man in the window wasn't the one watching her. He was just the monitor. The real eyes had been inside her apartment, behind the walls, the entire time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's plenty of horror waiting for you.